Welcome back, everybody, to a new edition to Swim, Bike, Run, Alabama. We're brought to you by our sponsor, Straight to L Brewery in Huntsville, Alabama. Our first segment today, as always, is Miss Allie Meeks, Ready, Set, Sweat. Allie, thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Tell me, what are we going to talk about today?
Today we're going to talk about breathing in freestyle.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yes. Did you know you could breathe in freestyle, Doug?
Every other stroke.
Yes, you can. That's right. That's right. So I was going to share some tricks to be able to find the air when you're trying to breathe in freestyle today.
Air's usually up, Doug.
Yep. It's above the water. Yeah. Yes.
I'm all for air.
Yeah. So I've got a great trick that I teach to a lot of people that I call the shark fin. Have you guys ever heard of that?
Have not.
Okay. So this is a cool trick that you can use when you want to breathe in freestyle. So when your arm is coming out of the water and you're getting ready to recover it around, you kind of bring it back behind you and you're going to create what's shaped like a shark fin. Those of you watching the video can see the shark fin. On the radio, you're going to have to picture it. But it looks like a shark fin with your elbow pointed to the ceiling and your arm behind you. And you basically turn your head, and the place that you kind of want to look is back in through your armpit. So instead of just straight to the side, kind of think about looking behind you through your armpit, back through that shark fin. And it's going to make room for your breath there on the side of your body. That can make a lot more space. So.
Is that pocket where the water's kind of pushed out of the way?
Yes. If your head's in the right position, you will be building a bow wave on the front of your head, just like a boat would, and you would have a little space just behind that, and that's where you're going to put your head. And if you do the shark fin move, you get your mouth right in that place where that smallest, lowest part of that trough is. So that can be a good trick for breathing.
So it doesn't increase your diaphragm capacity. It's more just finding a pocket for the air?
Exactly. Right. Yep. So once you do that, then you can make sure you're just taking your breath in. So you're just breathing in at that point and then going ahead and putting your face back in the water. So that brings up the second point, actually, which is that you want to exhale when your face is in the water. Do you guys exhale when you're swimming?
Absolutely.
You do? Good. Good.
I go the entire length of the pool and exhale and go back the other way.
He does no breath 25s. That's
I've
good.
tried to exhale out my nose. Yeah. I can't, or my mouth.
Yeah.
I can't do it with a nose clip on.
Yeah.
Is that normal?
Yes.
That didn't make any sense. But
if you put the earplug stuff up your nose, it doesn't work either. Yeah.
So you exhale out of your nose typically, or out of your nose and your mouth
Thank you for saving me.
For me, actually, I typically will breathe out my nose. When I'm really cruising, when I'm going fast, I end up breathing out both of them.
That's it. I can't breathe out my mouth.
Yeah, you have a hard time with that. Okay.
Well, you end up hypoxic, I guess. You can't get enough air out, or I can't, which is odd because I don't breathe in through my nose, breathing in.
And usually you can get more air out your mouth than you can your nose, but it's totally up to you. There's different things that work for different people, but the most important thing is that you are breathing out when you're underwater and not in. But yeah, it's actually a good point, because I have found working with a lot of people that they tend to think, just I guess because of the way they were taught swimming when they were younger, that you should hold your breath when you're swimming. And they hold their breath the entire time, and then when they go to breathe, when they turn their head, they actually exhale and inhale right there.
Tough.
And there's just not enough time to do both when you turn your head.
So do you recommend an even flow of exhaling?
It depends on what kind of swimmer you are. If you're a little bit anxious of a swimmer, that kind of slow, even exhaling can help you. If you're a more advanced swimmer and you're not as anxious in the water, one thing you can do is you can kind of use the breath in the same way that weightlifters do when they're lifting weight. When you're when you're doing the bench press and you go, and you're exhaling, and it helps you.
Who is she looking at?
Yeah.
She's looking this way.
She's looking at Peyton.
Yeah, she
Imagine that you were doing weightlifting.
Okay.
So what you can do is in that part of the pull where you're accelerating through the pull and you're pushing really hard at the back end, you can exhale harder at that point, to kind of give yourself a little extra, I guess, boost. And it works the same way it does when you're weightlifting. You're actually applying force the same way. So you can do that if you get comfortable with that.
Where is the most force in the stroke? I mean, where are you pushing the most at and getting the most out of in your stroke?
That's a really good question. It's basically between there are three parts of the pull: the catch, the pull, and the finish, or the catch, the diagonal, and the finish, depending on how you look at it. But that middle piece, the catch, in between the catch and the pull, where you're bringing your arm around basically to your midsection, that right there is the most powerful part of the stroke. When they've looked at that in wattage studies, they've found that part right there where you're pulling to your midsection is the most powerful. The part where you complete the stroke, where you push out the back, doesn't have as much wattage ability for you. So it does apply something, but it isn't as strong as your ability. And you can think about that just like when you're doing a pull-up. You know, when you kind of start, that first part of the pull-up is very weak, and then right as you kind of get into it, then you feel very strong, and then that very last part, you know, with that very, very last part, you don't feel as strong. So it's not quite the same, because in a pull-up, you don't push through with your tricep like you do when you're swimming.
I think for me, it's usually on my 10th or 12th set, 10, that I get a little wore out, but up till then, I'm okay.
Yeah. That's right.
So we want to work on our breathing, and that's going to make you a better swimmer. You know, obviously you want to be as comfortable as you can in the water, and that's also key. So you got to, I guess, work on both those breathing techniques to see which works best for you.
That's right. Use your shark fin. Make sure you're exhaling. And something that you can do, too, is to count the number of strokes that you do when you breathe. You can count every 2 or every 3. I'm like a 2, 3, 2, 3, 3. I kind of just go back and forth between 2 and 3. Okay. So try out, see what works for you.
Well, listen, Allie, we appreciate you being here once again. Great segment. If you're looking for some coaching tips, please go to readysetsweat.net and look what Allie has on her website. It's a great website.
See you next week.
Welcome back, everybody, to another segment here on Swim Bike Run Alabama. I'm Parker Edmiston. I'm here with my co-host, Doug Tinkham. And we have a special guest from Straight to L, our sponsor, and that is Bob Giles. Bob, thanks for being here.
No problem.
Bob's a brewer here at Straight to L, and he wants to talk to us, and we want him to talk to us about the Brew Festival, the Homebrew Festival they have on May 23rd right here at the shop. Tell us about it.
Well, it's our 3rd annual. The first year we just kind of were playing around with ideas, so we brought in all the home brewers that we knew, mainly the Rocket City brewers that were here in town. And let them legally brew in our place, and then we ferment it here, and then we can sell it in our tap room to the public and kind of get their home brews out to people that might not try them.
So the Brew Fest, the Home Brew Fest is going to be from 3 to 10 p.m. right here. I know you guys are going to have some food trucks and a couple of bands. How does someone get in line to bring their home brew here for that day?
Well, they can't bring it here unless they brew it here.
No, I mean to get in line to produce it here or to bring their...
They just have to talk to us in advance. There's 2 clubs that we work with right now, the Rocket City Brewers and the Huntsville Hopheads. So we just reached out to them, and then any home brewer that comes in to buy grain or anything like that, we just give them the heads up and then set up a brew day, and they come in that day, and we just take it from there.
What type of quantity would they brew when they came in?
We did 5-gallon batches. That way we can fill up about 1 quarter, and then we just put that out, and everybody brews the same amount. Some of the guys have a little competition who can blow the keg first, but that's just a friendly competition between them.
Okay. And so the competition will be folks will come in and they buy tickets, and then the winner of that Brew Fest will be the person who sells the most tickets?
Yeah, everybody gets a ticket to vote, and they just turn that ballot in at the end of the time, and then we count up the ballots, and that's the winner. And then usually we produce that brew on a larger scale here in the brewery and put it in the tap room and invite that home brewer down to kind of hang out and talk about his beer more with the public that day.
Okay, so the last couple of years, the winners have produced on a larger scale, obviously, their beer. Which ones have come through the Homebrew Fest?
Last year we did a watermelon wheat, and also we were supposed to do a citrusy IPA, but Monkey Knot's so close to that recipe that we kind of strayed away from that. And then we also did a vanilla bourbon stout that a guy did, just vanilla beans and like bourbon wood that he soaked in his beer for a little bit of time.
Okay.
So we did those 3. Watermelon wheat we did on a 20-barrel system, though. So that was the biggest one we put out.
All right. Bob, how many brewers do you expect to be here on the 23rd?
I think we have about 25 different batches. Some guys did
fantastic.
2 batches. Yeah.
How long does it take to do that?
They brew a brew day takes about 4 hours, 4 to 6 hours, mattering on your methods, and then about a month later we'll
and
have
you have
it
the
ready.
capacity to hold 25 at one time?
Yeah, we put it in our quarter-barrel kegs, and then we just put like an airlock on it, so it's just like a homebrew fermenter you would have at home.
I got you.
And then we have fridges in the back that we can keep them in and temperature control them.
So 25 samples of a boot, of a mug.
Yeah.
It's going to take some work, but
At least a
I'm
pint
willing.
glass.
I'm willing to try it.
Oh, yeah.
What do they typically come in, though, Bob?
We do a 4-ounce sample. So
Okay.
the same thing we get like at a brew fest,
Okay.
basically.
And so those folks can come in, and I guess it's probably a huge crowd every year for this.
I think we had about 300 to 400 people last year.
It's free to get in.
Free to get in. You just pay for your tasting glass, and then you pay per sample.
All right. And is it a tasting glass that you get to keep, or?
You keep this glass, and it has the logo for the 3rd annual event, and then it has our logo on it too.
Bob, how long you been a brewer here?
Going on 3 years in June.
Okay. And did you start out as a home brewer as well?
I did, and then I got hired on when they kind of need somebody to be a brew assistant, and then I've just kind of been moving up.
So you didn't start sweeping the floor like Drew?
No, I'm not like Drew.
Oh, that's it. Yeah. Well, it's a great adventure here to learn how to make brew, I'm sure, and we look forward to being here at Brewfest on May 23rd. Bob, thanks for coming in, and thanks for the education.
Appreciate you guys.
We'll be back after these messages on Swim, Bike, Run, Alabama.
I'm a rocket man. Rocket man.
Welcome back, everybody, to another segment here on Swim, Bike, Run, Alabama. We're brought to you by Straight to L, and we're here in the Straight to L studios on Lehman Ferry Road.
I like the sound of that, the Straight to Ale Studios.
We are. We're right here in the tap room. If you haven't come down to Straight to L, you owe it to yourself to bring a friend and come down here and try some of this fantastic beer. I'm having a 5th anniversary beer that's my favorite.
There you go.
There you go. We got some Red Bull here on the table. Red Bull, of course, is a huge sponsor of our Swim, Bike, Run, Alabama program.
And speaking of Bull, we've got Mike Garrity, the Rocket Man. Hello, Mike.
Right off the bat, he goes after you, Mike. What is that?
You want me to sing again?
Oh.
I do.
Yep.
Not.
So Mike, as everyone knows, is the race director of the Rocket Man Triathlon. It's going to be held August 23rd of this year. It's an Olympic distance triathlon. It's going to be out at Ditto Landing, a special new venue. But Mike, we have you in studio, and we want to talk about the Team Rocket Tri Club.
Well, Team Rocket Tri Club has been in existence for, probably about 15 years. Started out very small, but as of today's date, we're about 250 strong and hoping to roll over to about 300 soon.
You know what I remember first about the Team Rocket Tri is one Mr. Rick Greif used to be the president of that, and Rick used to have these meetings, and we used to meet, and he'd have where he would help folks with the mechanics of a bike. He'd have a speaker on this, he'd have a speaker on that, and just the community that would come together, the triathletes, and I think you all are advancing that now in what you do.
Yeah, the club is really strong, and we need a strong club for the events that we put on. Rocket Man is very manpower intensive, and we're all volunteers, and of course the race benefits, as do all of our races, charities. This year Rocket Man has changed his charity, has always been in the past the Marine Corps Toys for Tots, but this year the club approved changing that charity to the Madison County Special Olympics, and I'm very happy about that. And we will have some Madison County Special Olympians at the event, handing out awards, hopefully singing the national anthem, and getting involved as they should.
Well, I know that's something near and dear to your heart because you work with the special ed students teaching in the school system,
That's
don't
right.
you?
I do. That's right.
And so that's a fantastic new charity. The races for the Team Rocket Tri, what races do you all have during the year?
Well, we kick off with Tick Ridge Trek, which is I can't even remember, a 25-mile trail run or a 10K trail run. We also have the Heel and Crank Duathlon. Changed its distance this year from I believe a 3-mile run sandwiched on either end of a 16-mile bike, race directed by Eric Broyles.
Both those races very successful this year.
Right.
Tony Osani, the race director of Tick Ridge.
That was the best chili I've ever had. That sweet potato chili.
He does it's great to have an event where you have a signature dish or a signature drink, and Tick Ridge certainly did that. After Hill and Crank, then what's the next event?
We have Pesky Piranha, which is the last Saturday in June, I believe, and that's a youth tri held out at
There's a quiz.
Yeah.
But anyway, they can go on the website, the Team Rocket
Right.
Tri website.
Team Rocket Tri website. Gia and Doug Schultz are the race directors for it, and it's been very successful the last 2 years. This will be its third year running it.
And that helps the kids get in the triathlon?
Right. Sure does.
All right. And then you got what else?
Boy, we're getting tricky now. I think Rocket Man is the next one.
Okay.
Followed by another duathlon in the end of September. I think it's Ironman Chattanooga weekend. It's the race in the station, which is also on the Arsenal. Race director there is Kent Criswell. And then the last event, I believe that actually is the weekend before, is the Swim Hobbs Island, which Eric Broyles also directs.
Okay.
And that's a 2 mile and a 5 mile open water swim.
Well, you missed also, I think the one was the Huntsville.
Oh, my word, Suzanne Erickson's
You missed the Huntsville Sprint Tri.
Yes, the most important race is, of course, the weekend before Rocket Man, and that would be the Huntsville Sprint Tri, and that's at the Natatorium here in Huntsville.
What's the Team Rocket Tri? What are you trying to do with Team Rocket Tri? You trying to promote the sport?
Trying to promote the sport, trying to promote a healthy, fit lifestyle. And I don't have the mission statement right at my fingertips, but and also a major part of it is to give back to the community. Last year, I think we gave back in excess of $35,000 to our respective charities. So that's really a huge part. You know, we're not here for profit. Nobody takes a dime, and the club members come out in full force and support each of our events.
Well, you mentioned with your volunteers for the Team Rocket Tri Club, folks giving back for your race, Rocket Man. You've got to rely on the volunteers to come out and man the aid stations and work packet pickup, and that's a way for, I imagine, the triathletes have been around for a year or two to give back to the community.
And they do, and it's like I said, very manpower intensive. We've got over probably 120 people that we need on race day just to pull the thing off, and then, of course, the day before with packet pickup and the venue setting up all the racks, tearing down all the racks.
You think the new venue will be easier or harder than the Arsenal?
It's going to be way easier because for those that have done Rocket Man in the past, I would have to submit to the security folks on the Arsenal a list of everybody that was attending, to include family members, spectators. So for me, it's going to be a lot easier.
Well, you've race direct now for a number of years this race, but you also give back in that, we appreciate what you did for us at the Lake Gunnersville Triathlon last weekend. You were our transition director once again.
That's when I think of transitions, I think of Mike. He directs so many transitions and does an excellent job at it.
Takes no crap.
He does not.
No, you're not going to cross the Rocket Man.
But he will not do any body marking. He made that clear.
And just for those of you folks out there that have never volunteered, try it once. We had a new volunteer a couple weeks ago at a duathlon out in Gunnersville, and she helped me out at the transition area, getting people to mount and dismount, or at the mountain lion, and she just loved it.
Did you give her your riding crop? No?
You had the riding crop a few years ago from when you were the jockey, and you came to one of the races.
No.
I was referring to discipline, Mike. Yep. Running a disciplined transition.
The one good thing about volunteering, too, is it gives you perspective on what it takes to put on a race. So I know as a triathlete, a lot of times it's all about me. It's all about me. And so this water didn't have an ice cube in it. And so when you get out there and you actually volunteer and you see what it takes to put on a race, then you understand and you're willing to say, hey, thanks, volunteer, for the water you gave me. Thank you for this and thank you for that. Right. Volunteers are often unappreciated by triathletes.
And feedback is important, too. And after the race, I ask for feedback, good, bad, whatever. And, you take that and hopefully it doesn't bother you because people, you want honesty and you want to improve your race each year. So just like the feedback I gave to you last week after your Lake Gunnersville try.
It was nothing but positive.
It was a dog cussing. What are you talking about? It was a dog cussing, and I think they almost came to blows.
Swim under the bridge? Not anymore.
Yeah.
He was very nice to me.
Well, yeah. He's going to be nice to you. You're big. I mean, I'm an old man. He can swing on me. So, it was great hearing the the honest feedback, and as a race director, we need that.
We do. We do.
And listen, Mike, we appreciate you coming in. We appreciate you what you do as a race director and working with Team Rocket Tri. And we'll be back after these messages.
Thank you.
Welcome back, everybody, to another segment here on Swim Bike Run Alabama. We're brought to you by our sponsor, Straight to L. We happen to be in the Straight to L studios today. I'm Parker Edmiston with my co-host and good friend Doug Tinkham. And we have Rick Greif with us.
Also a good friend.
Also a good friend.
And
No
beer
doubt.
connoisseur.
Oh yeah, gotta do that for the sport, right?
So Rick talked to us last week about Try for Life, his coaching that he's doing now. He has over 20 athletes preparing to race here in 2015. Rick, what do you have on your schedule for your athletes this year?
What we're trying to do is I encourage all of my athletes to sign up for local sprint races. To me it's the best way to do speed work, because how many of us are going to go out there and do speed work on our own and really push it to the limit? It takes more macho than I got. So we're looking at doing the Monster Triathlon up in Tullahoma, Tennessee. Pulaski.
Pulaski.
And Mach 10 up in Tullahoma.
All right, so you got the Monster, a pool swim, a hilly bike ride, and then a little run along the path there, a great venue for a triathlon.
It is. I really like racing up there. It's kind of a laid back, but super, super fun race. The people that put that race on are outstanding. They do a great job. It's a good challenging bike, plenty of hills, and then the great run through beautiful downtown Pulaski.
And you are going to camp or not camp this year?
I'm going to camp on the John Hunt Farm.
Oh, yeah, he's offered that, hasn't he?
Well, I don't know if that's offered for everybody, but
everybody,
well, it is now.
Everybody who hears
Show up at
this
John
will
Hunt's.
show up at John Hunt's house and bring your camping gear.
I'll
and
bring your boots and your pitchfork, too.
Yeah,
That'll be a little cleanup work.
Yeah,
sorry about that, John.
yeah. So, I know that you and Carrie Hawkins were camping there several years ago when I did the race, and that's just a great venue. Like you said, it's a laid-back race, and that just creates a laid-back feel for a vibe that's fun for all triathletes.
Yeah, it is. And, the proceeds from that race always go to good causes, which personally I like to do that rather than hand my money to people
Easy.
that...
No, I know, but let's not say any names. Ain't not any race groups. We don't
How's
want to
everybody doing
alienate
out there
anybody.
today?
Yeah. And so you've got the Monster, and you've got Renaissance Man over in Florence that you all going to do.
Yeah, Renaissance Man is our target race. Really looking forward to it. We'll probably go over there 2 weeks ahead of time and do a quick run through on the course, give everybody a quick look and see what the terrain looks like. I know that run is
The run's brutal.
extremely challenging, both in the ups and the downs.
Sure.
That Renaissance Man is someone else's goal race for this year, and that's one Mr. Doug Tinkham.
Whoa.
Doug?
I hope to have it be my best support role this year. I probably won't be racing.
Oh, no.
I don't know.
You got an entry to the Renaissance Man.
You can always delay that for a year or
Now,
two.
hold on a second, Doug. Now, don't you always get on to Dennis Mix about his
I do.
Ironman aspirations? And here you are.
I
You
know.
won't. It's not like it's a far drive. It's in your backyard.
I've fallen apart this year.
Okay.
I've fallen apart.
We will save a spot atop the podium for you.
Oh, thank
go.
you.
So you talked about last week, Rick, about having folks that are wanting to complete the race, but you also have some hammers in your group.
We do. I had to say it's pretty humbling to be training some of these athletes that I have to give them instructions and then wave as they go tearing down the road ahead of me. But golly, they listen to what I do and what I tell them
How
to
many
do.
races have you done? I mean, you've done 1,000.
Yeah, I've done neighborhood of 225, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's close to 1,000.
Close.
In dog years.
It's a quarter.
Not everybody can be Nolan Ryan with the 104-mile-an-hour fastball, but he has a pitching coach as well.
Sure.
And so just the vast experience that Rick has will do his athletes well to listen.
Hey, the Fiat's back.
So let's talk, Rick, about what you're going to do, what you're going to race this year.
Well, I'm going to go up and do nationals this year. I qualified for that, and big fun race for the year is I'm going to do the Augusta Half Iron. I've never done that race. I've heard so many good things about it with the downhill swim. I love downhill swims.
I saw a video where a bag of chips did it in like 35 minutes.
Hey, I am there to take on the bag of chips.
There you go.
We're gonna go head to head.
So that's over in Augusta. That's, I think, in August?
It is. It's late August. No, well, I believe it is.
Okay, yeah, I think it's in August. And so on these races that you have for your athletes, will the whole group be going? I noticed at Lake Gunnersville that you had a tent set up, and that's a great way, I guess, that camaraderie that you have with athletes. It's once you're doing an event, you get to go and see those folks that not only you train with, but you're racing with, and you have your tent there for folks.
Right, yeah. And, you know, that race director over at Gunnersville, he's such a great guy. He let me bring my tent over, set it up, and, you know, it gives our athletes a place to congregate, a common meeting point. But, you know, not all of them will come do these races, but a good many do. And it gives me a chance to then go through the results afterwards and, you know, do a little evaluation.
And drink a few straight to ales, if I remember correctly.
One or two.
Yeah.
One or two. Well, you need libations, and you need to hydrate.
It.
And Coach Greif will do that. You're a multiple-time Ironman finisher, and so does that help you in your coaching as well?
Well, you know, I think it really does because, you know, the Ironman is such a unique beast in itself. You learn all of your limits, and then you can take that information and pass it on to help others.
Well, you learn your limits, and then you got to learn how to push through those limits. You know what? And you, I guess, the 200 and some odd races you've done, you've gone through some disasters where you've just had to make do with the conditions, haven't you?
Oh, definitely. And, you know, little things
That'd
like
be a good segment, Rick's disaster races.
Well, you know, I did an Ironman down in Florida one time, and the beginning of the swim start, my goggles were kicked off, which was before I knew to put my goggles on first and then my swim cap. So I swam 2.4 miles with no goggles and very red eyes. So.
Well, the good thing, there was probably no waves.
When you were a kid. That's how we swam as
That's
kids.
right,
we didn't
right.
use goggles.
That's right. This is for babies.
No car seats.
Well, listen, we appreciate Rick coming in. Try for Life, Rick Greif. Check him out on the race scene this year. And Rick, thanks for being here. Welcome back, everybody. Another segment here on Swim, Bike, Run, Alabama. Our special guest once again in studio. And I say studio when I mean...
It's our new studio.
It's going to be our new one right here at Straight to L Brewery on Lehman Ferry Road in Huntsville. Is Chris Levin from Bicycle Cove. Chris, thanks for being back with us.
Oh, always good to be back, guys.
Chris, we want to talk about a strange thing that's coming down the pike, and that's cyclocross.
Cyclocross.
What is it?
It is the fastest growing discipline of cycling in the U.S. But basically, the brief description of a lot of you may be familiar with steeplecross horse racing. Very similar. You just do it on a bike. A lot of obstacles, a lot of getting on and off the bike. Very spectator friendly running, and it just so happens that it takes place in the worst part of the season, which is rain, cold. When you don't want to be out training, but it forces you to get out and train. So when you hit the spring, you're ready to go.
What are the distance to the cyclocross events?
Most cyclocross courses, or in Europe they call them tracks, are a little over a mile in distance. And so you essentially do several circuits during a timed event. And it could be on sand, it could be on pavement, it could be on dirt, grass, gravel. Most of them originally used to take place in old field lands and farmlands in Europe.
That doesn't sound like a long distance, but I bet it is, isn't it?
It is brutal.
I
mean, your heart rate is pegged from the time the gun goes until the time you cross the finish line. It is tough.
Have you ever done any?
Yeah, I've done quite a bit of cyclocross racing, especially before I moved to Huntsville when I lived in Birmingham, and it's an obsession. I absolutely love it.
Are there any cyclocross events in North Alabama for athletes?
Not yet, but right now we're in the planning stages of bringing what will potentially be one of the first cyclocross races in Huntsville. It'll be at the Space and Rocket Center this fall. So stay tuned for details. We're kind of ironing those out, getting sponsors, and hopefully be able to announce it sometime this summer.
I think Doug was part of one of those the early events, the
was
red, white, and blue.
The Try for Old Glory.
Because he was off the bike a number of times.
Running treatment.
Yeah, he has some scarring.
I do. Some deep tissue scars.
Nice.
So these are actually, unlike Doug's adventure, these are actually planned times where you jump off the bike and you have to go over certain obstacles.
There are. There's either going to be man-made obstacles, which could be, in Europe they call them planks, which are basically boards that are about 40 inches tall where you have to get off your bike, carry it, jump over them, and remount. Could be a natural obstacle like potentially a hillside you have to get up and run up. Essentially, within the lap that you'll do, you're going to end up getting off your bike at least once or twice.
What's the pedals for that?
I was just going to ask, what kind of shoes?
It's mountain bike stuff. Mountain bike stuff so that you can have the ability to shed mud when you're clipped in or when you're re-clipping in again, and also when you're off the bike, you need the traction that you'd have with a mountain bike shoe.
And so you got traction run up the hill or whatever, and it's how much running or how much, I guess, percentage-wise would it be if you're off the bike and you're doing the obstacle versus riding?
I would probably say it's a pretty small percentage, maybe 10% of the overall circuit or loop would have you off your bike. It's pretty minimal. So when you're doing your training for running, you're not really doing a lot. It's just really hard efforts. So when you go out and maybe do like a quick 1 or 2 mile run after you go ride your bike and just get after it.
Carrying your bike.
Yeah, I mean, the best practice for cross is mounting and dismounting and working on the skill. I mean, the best cross racers have the absolute best skill.
And so there's a lot of flying mounts and dismounts and such as that?
Yes, the infamous flying remount, absolutely.
Wow.
I had the falling dismount down.
Attaboy.
Well, no, because you stay clipped in sometimes. So you
That's
got
when you're lucky.
Yeah.
That's the best crash.
So when you do this event, I guess it is becoming more and more popular. I see it in the magazines and such. It is fan friendly, where you got a lot of folks that come and get together, and it's sort of an alternative group of cycling.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of mountain biking back in the 90s, kind of that real grassroots, laid back, you go out and race someone, get your butt kicked, and come back and share a beer with them. And the other thing, too, that's cool about cross, which is great for places where we're filming this today, is it's very beer friendly. So, over in Europe or in Belgium, where it's the hotbed of cross, all the best racers come. For those folks and the spectators, it's a thing. You go there on a Sunday afternoon, drink a bunch of beer, party, and have fun. It's almost like kind of going to a football game here. So it's just a big, giant party. There just happens to be a bike race in the middle of it.
How about NASCAR meets cycling?
There you go.
And you've got the Bubbas and our folks out there with the beer cans.
I was just thinking that'd be a good event to show up to with some beer.
That would be
not necessarily do.
Yeah.
That is an excellent description. I like that. The NASCAR bike racing.
So when are y'all looking to bring an event here to Huntsville?
So right now the tentative date is November 8th. It's going to be at the Space and Rocket Center, which has been really gracious and really forthcoming with helping us get this thing going. I mean, that place was made to host a cyclocross race, so we're really, really excited about it. And I've actually been in contact with Matt over at Levin's Bicycle, and he's working on one as well. So the ultimate goal between the two of us is just to bring cross to Huntsville and have it be just as popular as it possibly could be.
Okay, Chris Levin, Bicycle Cove, appreciate you being here today.
Thanks, guys.
We'll be back after these messages.